Welcome to LSC is Sports Time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Francena McCorory, who is a gold medal winner from over in Korea. But we're going to go back and talk a little bit about how you got started. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is a pleasure for me. But you started running at a real young age, about 6th grade or so, is that right?
Definitely. I started in junior varsity in the 6th grade for Bethel High School.
Okay.
And how I got started was my gym teacher. He noticed that I was good at the extracurricular activities, like when we would have the mile runs and things like that. And he kind of pushed me into running track. And at first, to be honest, I didn't want to do it. But when I got to high school, that's when I really started getting a good feel for it.
But you had somebody that worked with you when you were in middle school.
Definitely.
Ron Baton, for example, who was a good friend of ours. But he worked with a lot of young ladies.
Yes.
Did you know right away that you had had a penchant for running and a speed?
Right away, I didn't know. I just kind of did it for a fun thing. And a couple of my other friends ran with Ron Baton also. So we kind of did it just to kind of hang out at first.
Right. And then you went to Bethel.
Yes. And
you ran into a coach, Eddie Williams.
Yes.
Eddie kind of took you under your wing. You and the other young ladies come through there. And talk about that experience, because now you're talking a little bit different, a little more pressure maybe, I don't know, to succeed and please the coach.
Yes, it was definitely a lot different than running JV track in middle school versus when I got to high school. But we had good people behind us, like Coach Eddie. He always monitored us, make sure we were doing the right things, even when we didn't want to at times.
Right.
So he definitely kept us under the wing. And it was hard at first, but we got a feel for it, and we started to like it also.
You've done something that's probably never going to be duplicated. You had 8 state champions at Bethel High School.
Yes.
I don't know how anybody else could even come close to doing that. But you got indoor track and outdoor track.
Yes.
And what were your were you just always a 440, or did you run other things?
My main focus in high school was the 100-meter dash, the 200-meter dash, and the 4x1. I could have ran the 400 in high school, but I always ran from it. And Coach Eddie he babied me a little bit. But my senior year is when he told me, no, you have to run the 400.
Right. Well, if I remember when Kaz was coaching, that he would work these young guys out that were running 440, and they'd sprint like as hard as they can to 300. And just try to fight through it. Is that part of what your workouts were at the 400?
Yes, pretty much so. And my coaches always try to put in different strategies, and we'll try different things at different meets. So you just kind of try different things until you find what works for you.
But you got to go to the pin relays. Wow, what's that experience like?
The pin relays is amazing. It's a big track meet, and it's been around since the 1800s, and everybody comes out to go. And it's a really historic track meet, so it's wonderful to be there. It really feels good to just be on the track.
Okay, but now when you run an indoor track, you didn't have an indoor track to run.
No.
I mean, so how was that to get ready for it and go up to pin relays and have an indoor track?
We would, in high school, we always practiced, believe it or not, in the hallways of Bethel High School.
Right. I believe it.
Yeah, that might have gave us a disadvantage to some people. Well, some people might look at it as that, but it kind of helped us out a little bit because the curves are kind of tight, so.
Right. Now, that's what a lot of people don't understand, because indoor, the track is smaller than outdoor.
Definitely.
So you're almost on a curve almost the whole time. Mm-hmm. So did Coach help you with the leaning and the arm movement? Explain a little bit of that to me, because I know it's a little different. Yes,
it's definitely very different. Basically, the technique on the indoor track is you have to make sure you swing out like really wide around the bend, because if you cut it too close, you might hit another runner or you just might hurt yourself. So you just gotta swing out and then kind of swoop back in the middle. Okay. If you can understand.
But so there's a technique to it.
Right.
It's just you just don't get out and just run.
Right.
You got to know what you're doing, basically.
Definitely.
So that was hard. So when you got to the pin relays, did you get to run on the track as practice a few times before the meet?
Usually you don't, because there's so many teams that go to pin relays. So usually you don't get to practice on the track or run on it. You just kind of have to remember what your coach told you before you go out there.
Right. Now, you were the 100, the 200, 4x1, and indoor you did the 300.
Yes.
Was that, see, that's, now 300, you're getting thinking 400 in the outdoor, aren't you? Is that part of Eddie's strategy?
Well, actually, in Virginia, we don't run the 400-meter dash indoor. We only run the 300.
300, right.
Until you get to the National Scholastic Meet, and that's when they run the 400. But the 300 always helps you, and it's actually an advantage that we run the 300 here, because when you get to the national meet, all you have is an extra 100 to add to it, so it's not as bad.
Right. Tell me about what it felt like the first state championship you won. What was that feeling like?
I would have to say it was pretty undescribable. I was always really nervous on the track in high school. Like my mom, Cantrice, can tell you, she was always there to like make sure I was doing okay. So I was always really, really nervous. But when I crossed the line for the first time, I realized that, hey, maybe I can do this. Like, maybe it's not as bad as I make it. So. Right.
And see, and that's what I've talked to a lot of different athletes and said, well, when did you know that you could play at the next level? And they said, it just happens. That once you did it, you say, oh, wow, I belong here.
Right.
I can do this. So, and then you go through high school and you win 8 of them. So, I mean, that's just, to me, is amazing. Then you graduate from high school. You're being recruited. You got to be heavily recruited. I mean, all over the United States. Yes. Everybody wanted you.
Yes, I was.
Did you have any inklings of going anywhere else, or was it always HU is where you wanted to go?
I always wanted to stay home. I'm a hometown girl, and this area has really supported me, like since I started in the 6th grade, since day one. So I wanted to stay in my community, and just to show love and just to be around the people that supported me the most.
Well, and it gives them a chance to see you too.
Yes,
which
definitely.
is always a good thing. Now, at HU, you won the world 400 meter?
The American record.
The American record, that's what it was.
Yes.
Wow. And you still have that?
Mm-hmm. It was 20 years old before I broke it.
20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's an awesome accomplishment.
Thank
you. That had to make you just almost surreal.
Yeah.
That you come across the finish line. Did you know that you were on pace to do it? How did you?
No, I definitely wasn't. And to be honest, that race was a really stressful race for me because I was really nervous. But when I got on the line, I just said a scripture that I always say because I read the Bible a lot. And then when the gun went off, I just went.
Now, a lot of people don't understand, but when you run track, especially sprints, you don't want to be tight. You want to be loose. What do you do to make yourself real loose when you're running? I mean, is it the Bible verse, or is something that you go through to warm up? How does that work?
Yes, it's very important to stay relaxed because if you're too tense, you can tighten up, and that's when your competitors could potentially pass you. So I love Michael Jackson. So I listen to Michael Jackson before I run.
Okay.
I do read my Bible a lot, and that calms me down. And I just kind of just remind myself that, you know, I'm here for a reason. You know, God gave me this talent, so I'm just supposed to use it.
And you are using it well. Now, you also did some things. You at Nike Indoor, you won a, well, the thing that really gets me, you made the 2002-10 Decade Athlete.
Yes.
A Daily Press. Wow.
Yes,
I mean, that's just awesome to be able to do something like that. And you've still got a lot of things left to do. But talk about that feeling. Did they talk to you first about it? Did you know it was going to happen, or did you read it in the newspaper?
I knew it was going to happen a little bit before they published it in the paper. But it was just awesome for them to give me that accomplishment, being that I'm such a young athlete. So, and then we have a lot of great athletes that came out of this area. So for them to pick me, it was really an honor.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about this gold medal here. Now, you went over to Korea.
Yes.
I mean, you traveled all over the world. This is great. Talk a little bit about that, because this is a relay.
Yes.
So you had to work with the baton passing and all. This doesn't come natural. I mean, this is something you have to work on.
Yes, being in Korea was one of the greatest experiences. It was my first time ever at a world championship meet. And I got to run with some of the greatest athletes, Allison Felix, Sonia Richards. So it was really an honor, and we really had a lot of fun. It was fun, like getting to know them and getting to get the chemistry as far as the baton passes. I had a really, really good time.
What were the fans like over there? Were they? Because I know when you go over to Korea, they fill up a football stadium.
Yes, definitely. They were very awesome. The stadium was packed every single day. The championship was from August 27th to September 4th, and I don't think there was an empty seat in the house.
Wow, that's great. Now, you talked a little bit about your mom, Catrice. Now,
Yes.
she was telling me that when you went to Penn Relays, it was American, Jamaica, American, and Jamaica.
Yes, that's usually how it is at Penn Relays.
So, but she said that when you were up there and you got the baton, the same time this other young lady did.
Yes, and that other young lady is Allison Felix.
Right.
And she's a really, really phenomenal athlete. So, and that was my first time running on the USA versus the world, because that's what they call the
Right.
4x4. That was my first time running on that relay. So I was a little apprehensive, but I had talked to my godmom, Cantrice, before I went out, and she just told me to just focus on myself and run my own race, and I did, and I was really, really successful.
That's just awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the Olympics. You have a chance to go to the Olympics. I think, the elite of the elite get a chance to go to the Olympics.
Yes, I'm very excited about the 2012 Olympics. I think I have a really good chance. This year I finished the third fastest 400 meter woman in the world. So I have a really, really good chance, and I'm really excited, and I start training back in November, so that's gonna be my ultimate goal.
Okay. Now, let me just ask you this, because when they're talking difference in world records, we're talking sometimes hundreds of seconds.
Right.
So, so when you say you're in the third fastest, you may have only been a second or something behind the number 2 and number one.
Definitely, definitely. It's really close. I think the first fastest was like 49.5. The second was 49.6, and I ran 50.2. So it's really, really close.
Wow. It's just amazing. I got so many things I want to talk to you about you, but you had a lot of coaches to help you along the way.
Definitely.
And I'm talking from Ron Baton to Eddie to your coach over at HU, Cantrice's husband. So, what can you say about these guys? What was the common denominator that made them instill you to be better?
The common denominator, I would have to say, is they're very supportive. All of my coaches were very supportive, and they didn't look at me as just an athlete. They looked at me as a person, and they honestly, truly cared about me, and they cared about my well-being. So that's why I think I've been successful with all of my coaches, because it wasn't just about me, Francena the athlete. It was about Francena the person.
Okay. All right, Francena, the athlete. You're going to talk to some young ladies, athletes. They may be track runners, they may be basketball players, softball players. What would be the message you want to give them?
The biggest message I would give is for them to believe in themselves. And it might sound really simple and cliche, but that can be the thing that can make or break your career. And I had to learn that the hard way. So
Right.
Always believe in yourself, know that you're there for a purpose, and set your goals and go for them.
Okay. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
I want to thank you for tuning in to LSC, and I want to thank my special guest, Francena McCorory. I'm Bob Hintz. Till next time.